Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Vanessa and you are watching the Exploring Oracle, or the Exploracle for short. So if you're new here, what I usually do on this channel is I show you a deck from my personal collection. I show you all of the cards, talk about the card stock, the guidebook, we shuffle the deck, and at the end we also choose a card to read. So for today, we will be taking a look at this indie deck called the Tarot of Spells and Potions. So this is by Dark Senevere. And this is what the size of the box looks like. So it comes in this stock box, and this is the back of the deck. Now I usually read these, but the text here is quite small and I won't be able to. I'm probably just going to mess up the words because the text is quite small and the font is a little hard for me to read for someone with really bad eyesight. So if you want to read it, just pause and take a closer look. So you also have here the link to their Instagram and their website. So let's open up this deck. Let's take a quick look at the guidebook. So it comes in two languages. Oops. So it's in English and also in Russian. So it just has the major arcana, and then it goes direct into the meanings of the major arcana and then the minors. So there's also not a lot for each card. Basically just a few sentences. And I would have to note that there are a lot of typographical errors both in the guidebook as well as I think two on the deck itself. I knew that before I purchased the deck because the flip-throughs that I saw already showed those misspellings or those typos. But I did still feel a little bit disappointed when I got this deck, and later on I'll tell you why. So for the guidebook, just so you would know, so the High Priestess is the Night Priestess in the guidebook. It's the Night Princess in the deck. The Emperor is misspelled, Hierophant is misspelled, and Strength here is correctly spelled but not on the actual card. But I think that's as far as the misspelling goes. Judgment here is without an E. In the card it has an E, but I know both spellings are acceptable. So yeah, there's not a lot. You do have the idea or the gist of the meaning of the cards, of the cards. So even if you're a beginner, you can use this deck. But yeah, just so you know, there are some. There's not a lot of information that you can get from the actual guidebook. So that's it. And then you have two extra cards, Chaos and Strategy, and then already it goes into the Russian card meanings. Okay, so about the card stock, it is super thin, guys. Like almost paper thin. So it is an indie deck. I think the original price for this deck is around $45. I did get it for $20, which also includes the shipping, so it was quite affordable. And I was already drawn to the art on this deck, so I took a chance and I got it, even though I knew that there were some misspellings on the cards and all that. But yeah, but when I got it, I didn't expect it to be this thin. So the cardstock, I don't really like it, but it is a usable cardstock, so I don't mind thinner cardstock as long as it will shuffle well. So just to show you, this does shuffle well. Okay, so that's not really the issue that I have with this deck. Now maybe let's talk about it while we flip. Oh no, wait. So the first, let's talk about the backs. They are not reversible. There's a lot of details on the cards, and yeah, the cardstock is, it's not exactly glossy, but it is catching a lot of the light, and again, it is quite thin. Okay, and then let's talk more about the art as we take a look at each one. Okay, so I was drawn to this art because to this deck because I saw it I don't even remember whose channel I saw it from, but I saw it and I was so drawn to the busyness and the detail on the cards. And yeah, so I searched for it and I found the website that it's created by Dark Cinever. However, in the flip throughs that I watched, the color seemed a lot more saturated. The color seemed a lot more saturated, and the lines seemed a lot sharper than my copy. Now, I don't know if it's just because of how it's, I don't know if it's a camera, if it's because of the video or how the light is bouncing off of the card, because I really thought that it would be a lot more saturated. And the reason for that is because it is a very busy card, right? And I don't have the best eyesight, and I need that contrast to see clearly. And now as I'm looking at the camera, it does seem a lot more clearer doing the flip through than when I see it in person. And I think that's the biggest disappointment that I have with this deck. It's not really the fault of the creator. Maybe it's just my expectation that it was a lot more saturated than it was, and my limitation that I can't see as well as others. So it's a bit of a challenge for me to see the details if it's not bright or saturated. But as you can see, there's so much detail in this deck that I think that every time you use it, you'll pick up on some new detail that you haven't in the previous reading. And it's quite interesting. It's not an RWS clone. Like for Temperance, you have two images here, these two witchy figures, and there, it's just not the typical imagery that you see, and there's a lot that you can read from that one, or there's more that you can read to it than you would if it was just another RWS clone. Devil. And yeah, maybe I just wish it was brighter, and I don't know, maybe this version is a little less saturated because this has been out since 2021. So I don't know if this is a newer version. But yeah, I just wish it was more saturated because it feels a little washed out to me. So yeah, here, Judgment. Oh yeah, I didn't show you I didn't highlight the misspelling, although I did talk about it. So the High Priestess, and Strength. So I know I'm just showing that not to say anything bad about the creator, but it's just so if you are interested in this deck, I want you to know that there are those things that might bother you. I mean, honestly, it does bother me a little bit, but I knew that going into the deck, so it's really just the color and the sharpness, I think, of the lines that kind of disappoint me with this deck. I still want to keep it, I still want to use it, but it's just that I think that I would have loved it a lot more if, I don't know, maybe I was wrong, because looking at the camera now, it does look a little bit brighter than it does in person. I don't know, maybe it's the lighting. But as you can see, right, the something about the art, the expressions, the characters on the deck, it's a refreshing take on the tarot. The characters are young. I don't think there is an older person in this deck. It does skew a bit young, but I don't know. It's just, it has that charm for me, even though it is not as saturated as I would have wanted. Five of Cups. So for the Eight of Cups, I did look up the meaning for this one because it doesn't look like a traditional Eight of Cups to me. But it's I think the meaning in the guidebook is something like, if you choose a decision, or if you choose something, an option, it's you leaving behind all the rest and you sticking with that decision. And I kind of like that meaning or that interpretation as well for the Eight of Cups, even though it's not the usual moving away or walking away from the cups that we usually see. And I think that's what's special about this deck too, because it offers a different perspective than what we're used to seeing in other tarot decks. As always, feel free to slow down, speed up, or pause if you want to take a closer look at the cards, especially since this deck is quite detailed. So feel free to pause at any time. And yeah, maybe it really is just the lighting, and I thought that it would be brighter, but it's not as bright as I thought it would be, which is why I was a little bit disappointed when I received it. I mean, look at these details, right? Dark Cinevered also, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, by the way, but that's how I read it. So the website contains a lot of different theme decks. So if you're interested, you can, I'll put up a link of the website down below. I did have to pay via PayPal, and the deck did take some time to reach to my US address, but it still arrived, and the creator was responsive. I was emailing them, asking them, because I got this on pre-order. Yeah, so maybe this is a different version than the ones I saw on the flip through, because for a while this was not available on the website. So, and I got it on pre-order, so waited a few months for it to arrive, and then another few months for me to receive it here in the Philippines. So yeah, it took a while for me to get this deck, just in time for October and November though. But yeah, I was so excited to work with it, but there was a little bit of disappointment when I first opened it and got it. And they have the 10. And the King. Okay, so there is no issue for me in riffle shuffling this deck. It riffle shuffles really well, really smoothly because of the thinner cardstock. So I can shuffle it just fine. I can get a really good mix with it. And do it one more time. For the overhand though, since it is a little bit thin, but I got the jumper right away. But you have to be careful when you press it, because sometimes it does fold, because it's a lot more flexible. See, like this one. But yeah, I can get jumpers. It doesn't really feel like it's clumping or sticking. So as someone who works with jumpers, that's a good thing for me. And then let us read for the Knight of Wands. Okay, so there's just a short meaning for the Knight of Wands. It says, the road will be mastered by the walking one. You have a passion that drives you through life. The situation invites you to follow the call of blood and fire. So let's pick another card, just so you have a sense of how the guidebook reads. So let's choose the Moon and the Fool. Let's also read for that. Or maybe we'll read for the Ace of Cups instead. And the Moon. So you have a court card, a major, and a minor arcana. So for the Moon, it says, everything becomes clear under the moon. Your fears and doubts will soon disappear. Women of your kind give you support and love. The answer to the question can come from children or near water. And remember that everything has two sides, like the moon. So it's not just the typical definitions or meanings. It also gives you a little bit something to think about, even though it's a short meaning. There's not a lot here, but yeah, it's enough. And then for the Ace of Cups, feelings fascinate but also frighten you. There are so many of them, and they are so strong that you cannot resist them. And if you look at the detail on the Ace of Cups, it really shows you a different side and a different meaning. It's almost like you're overwhelmed, even though it's usually the Ace of Cups is like a spark or a beginning of emotions and something, a relationship even. And this time it's like it leans into a different meaning and it overwhelms you. So all of these emotions overwhelm you. And yeah, so this deck maybe not ideal for beginners, because it tends to have to go its own way a little bit, but I like it because it offers that additional insight, and it's different from the usual RWS meanings that we usually get. And I also really like this Five of Cups. Something about this child, this vulnerability, it really there's a lot of emotion in that card that I see. Strength. And yeah. So what do you think about this deck? Are you interested in it? Let me know your thoughts. I love reading comments. And yeah, that has been the flip through of the Tarot of Spells and Potions by Dark Sinevere. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to click on the like button, and do consider subscribing to my channel where I post videos like this at least once a week. See you again next time. Bye!